welcome to round 19 of the West Life podcast. I'm your host, Josh Barnett. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter via @WestLifePod and on Facebook as well. I've got some good content actually on the socials this week. Put a bit of video and a bit of discussion on there. Cut together a few controversial referee decisions from last game, and cheers to the Raiders fans who decided to chime in and give me a few retweets and call me a few names. But thanks to those guys, the video's got over a few thousand views, so well done to those lovely Raiders fans down there who obviously had nothing better to do. But not a great performance obviously by the boys on the weekend, despite a couple of referee calls not going our way as usual. But be as it may, a new week. On today's show, a fair bit of news to talk about. A few things dropped today. A preview for round 19, and of course being the week of Robbie Farah's 300th game, just like I did with Benji a couple of weeks ago. A couple of Robbie Farah personal memories and moments for myself. But up first, here is the latest news. Okay, so I decided to start recording these later in the week in the hope that any breaking news that happens late in the week, I don't miss it. And sure enough, that proved to be a good move this week, definitely, because just as I was about to record this, a couple of news stories dropped online. So first up, Jacob Liddle is going to re-sign with the Tigers according to Fox Sports, and as you may know, if you're a regular listener of the show, I love Jacob Liddle. I think I'm massively rate him and think he's got a lot of potential in him and think he's the hooker of the future. I know a lot of West Tigers fans don't agree, but Lids is going to get a shot to prove those haters wrong, and I would assume Robbie Farah will announce his retirement in the coming weeks as well. So Lids will be wearing the number 9 from next year, it seems. So anyone that wants to join me on Little Island, you might want to do it now, and I promise you won't regret it. It's a nice place to live. But a sad bit of news for Benny Matulino. So he's apparently going to retire at only 30 years of age after doing his knee in round 14 this year. Now, he's got 2 years left on his contract with the West Tigers, apparently about $600K per year, and the Tigers still have to pay that out. But if he medically retires, as we saw with Greg Inglis this year, the Tigers won't get charged on the cap for that. So, firstly, there's a massively sad news for the guy. You don't want to see players of any caliber retire early because of injury, and being only 30, he probably had a few good years left in him, and he was playing fairly well too. It's bad for the team, and it's a shame he's not out there performing for the team. But I guess the Tigers will have to find a front rower to replace him but there's a bit of cash there if he does get approved by the NRL to medically retire. Now, Robbie Farah, of course, plays his 300th game against the Knights this week. I'll preview that shortly. But, this week he had a sly little dig at Jason Taylor in the Sydney Morning Herald article. His little quote there was, "I wouldn't want to hear from JT," and that he was told by JT back in the day when that all went down and he was coach, that he would finish his career in reserve grade. And Robbie threw one back by saying, well, he's coaching a reserve grade now. So a little sly dig from Robbie. He likes to throw shade a little bit, Robbie Farah does. Whether you like him for that or not, he speaks his mind and he's passionate, to say the least. I love him for it, but I can understand why non-Tigers fans would hate him. But I love the guy personally. But what did get lost a little bit in that article by the Sydney Morning Herald is he injured his neck playing for Lebanon earlier in the year, and he's been getting shots to keep pain down his arm. So his brother Eddie, who's a trainer for South, has been working on him overtime. Obviously, the Tigers physio staff as well, but he's playing injured at the moment. So I would put the mortgage on that he's going to retire, and probably will announce it in the next couple of weeks. So it'll be fitting to get an actual farewell for Robbie. At Leichhardt Oval, which is the last game of this year against the Sharks, and they did a few shots of him this week sitting on the scoreboard. So it'll be a much less awkward occasion than that Raiders game a few years ago that we said goodbye. Luckily not for the last time. But now, not West Tigers related as such. Now, Bankwest Stadium is not liked by a lot of West Tigers fans. They bag it out and say they refused to go watch the team there. Well, it's now going to be the home of the Bulldogs as well. So, so ANZ Stadium obviously is getting refurbished in 2020, and probably 2021. Potentially even 2022. So the Bulldogs have announced they'll play 10 games there next year. So we'll have 2 away games there, I would assume. And hopefully our membership packages will include those. We didn't get reciprocal to the Para game this year, but now there's 3 teams. They might put some sort of deal between the 3 teams to get entry into away games. This week is also Beanies for Brain Cancer Week, the Mark Hughes Foundation. So if you're going to a game, either the Tigers one or one of the others, grab a beanie. The wife and I got one a couple of years ago, and they're pretty good quality actually. They're not just cheap shit. They're despite being a great cause, they're actually pretty schmick little beanies. So they do sell out quick. So get your hands on one. This weekend, the players were around the Balmain area this week doing a lot of junior training sessions you may have seen, so it was cool seeing them out and about. Say what you like about the team on the field, off the field, they are pretty good at that stuff. So they were at a lot of junior training, so it was cool seeing the photos of kids getting photos with the players. A small rumour going around is Knights forward SASA is on our radar. Now, he's only 24. He played for the Kiwis last year in Denver, Colorado with Isan. So he plays for the Knights. He's in the 16 this week, so keep an eye on him in that game. Someone on Twitter, my feed, also mentioned they were even looking to get him pre-June 30, but couldn't get the cap space. So it seems like the Tigers are pretty keen on this big, this kid, 25, he's not really a kid, but so we'll see what happens there. Now, Canterbury Cup last week, the Magpies had a draw with the Dragons for the second time this year. That was at Leichhardt on Sunday. I'm not sure if you saw the video of Tristan Taylor, the son of Wendell, of course, that length of the field try he scored against us. He looks every bit as good as his dad, so the Dragons would be silly not to give him a first grade crack soon. But knowing our luck, he'll probably play first grade against us later in the year at the SCG and absolutely carve us up. But just thought he was noteworthy. Our New South Wales women's premiership team, they had a 28-12 win in their their finals game against the winning Magpies last week. So the girls will play against the Bears on Saturday at 1:30 p.m. at Leichhardt, and that's for a place in the grand final. So let's go girls there. And lastly, the club announced that the grand final luncheon tickets are now on sale. Get your tickets for $220 each. It's pretty pricey, but it's a tuxedo classy event, and it's at the Sydney Convention Centre this year, so it's a pretty schmick event. I had the honour of giving the award for the members player a few years ago, and Got to go to one 2 years ago at La Montage, thanks to Maureen letting me take her son's ticket when he couldn't go. Thanks again, Maureen, for that. So anyone looking to go that, it is a good night, or day rather, this year. So it's the Friday before the grand final. Check out westtigers.com.au or call the club for that one. That is the news this week, quite a lot, but my round 18 preview is next. Okay, round 19 rather, not round 18 as I just said at the end of the news segment, but we are playing the Newcastle Knights at Marathon Stadium, 6 p.m. Friday. The team list this week: Corey Thompson is returning from injury. He's at the fullback position. Mbai has pushed back into the centres. Cheekham has moved from the centres to the 12. Ryan Madison has been moved to the 13. Oliver Clark has been given a spot on the front row. Alex Twelve moved to the bench. Luke Garner is also being brought in to the second row, and Chris Lawrence has been pushed to the bench. Matt Eisenhuth has been dropped, and the rest of the bench is, or the reserves rather, is Tommy Talau, Chris McQueen, and Josh Reynolds. Again, can't sneak his way into the side. So the two blondies in Oliver Clark and Luke Garner both getting starts this year after being playing pretty well for the Magpies lately. For those attending the games, I've been to Newcastle to watch the Tigers play a couple of times. Not a bad place to watch footy. It's pretty cheap, and the new stadium, if you haven't been there for a while, the new stadium's pretty cool. If it's been a while since you've been to Newcastle, it's come a long way since back when it was Marathon Stadium in the heyday of the Knights. But if you're looking for a place to park, I normally park down near the McDonald's. There's a back street. A lot of people park there, and you walk across the park. I'm assuming this is the same. I haven't been there for a few years now, but you can park there. It's not timed or anything, but that's a Sydney thing to put timing monitors on streets and have parking officers. Anyone that doesn't live in Sydney or grew up outside Sydney like myself knows that is purely a Sydney annoying thing to have time parking. But up north in the country, that's not the way they live. They park as long as you like there and walk across, get a feed at Macca's on the way home is my tradition for Newcastle games. So that my bet of the week. Now, Robbie Farah, if you like him to get a bit of a special try, he's $6 to score. He probably won't play a full game with Lids coming off the bench. I don't normally like backing guys that don't play full games because there's less chance of them scoring. Michael Cheekham is $5 to score, and he's playing in the back row. So throw him into a Tigers win, and it's about 9-1. And then you can nearly double your money again by throwing Sean Kenny-Dow into that. That guy always tends to score against us. And who could forget the 2010 semi-final against the Roosters when Liam Fulton threw an intercept pass and he ran away and ended the game. It still gives me nightmares. But that's my preview for this week. My Robbie Farah memories to finish is next. And this week is, of course, Robbie Farah's 300th NRL game. It kind of sucks that not every one of those games were in the West Tigers colours, but be as it may, Robbie is getting his 300th celebration this week, and I'm sure the club will do plenty next week at Leichhardt Oval to help celebrate that. He'll get his banner. Hopefully the banner doesn't fall apart like Benji's did in Bank West a couple of weeks ago, but whatever your opinion on Robbie, it's you can't deny that he's been a massive part of the club, if not as big a Benji in our history. And congratulations to Robbie in 300 games. So I thought I'd share 5 of my memories of Robbie. Been watched him play for his entire career. So firstly, now a sad one I was at Leichhardt Oval in 2012. We were playing against the Roosters. I was on the hill with my family, all excited for the game to start. And then about a half an hour before the game, it was announced that Robbie Farah's mother, Sonia, had passed away. And you could just feel the atmosphere just kind of, it just died at that instant. And just everyone just went, oh, it was just, I don't know, just one of those moments. And I don't know Robbie Farah personally beyond being a Super West Tigers fan, but I feel like everyone on that hill at Leichhardt Oval just, it was just so sad. It was just like, it's indescribable when that came over the loudspeaker, how that felt. But having lost my mother to cancer a couple of years ago as well, I can relate to Robbie a bit there, and it's just, he's massive on family, being that typical Lebanese culture where family is very, very important. And his mum obviously was, so I'm sure she's in the back of his mind as he goes to play his 300th this week. But not a good memory, but it definitely sticks in my mind. It is why I threw it in this list. Now, a more happy memory from 2012. I went up to the Gold Coast to watch us play against the Titans. Now, I'll put a little video snap of this on our Facebook page for anyone who doesn't remember the game. So, we were down 14-0. Just for half-time, Farah got a try. One of his stereotypical, took it from dummy half and crashed it over. And then he set up another. And then late in the game, he charged down a kick from the Titans, chased the ball down, could have scored, but the other team tackled him out of the way. So they got a penalty right in front, tied the game, sent it to Golden Point. And then, of course, in Golden Point, who would happen to kick the winning field goal other than Robbie Farah. So he was absolutely huge in that game. And, being at the game behind the post, with a lot of Tigers fans up there, actually. If you ever go to a Titans game, you won't be alone. There's a shitload of Tigers fans up there, and a good place to holiday as well. It'd be a bit of a shame in that regard if they do move the Titans out of there, because I quite like the Gold Coast. But just a random memory from Robbie in 2007, if you remember, the Tigers had a lot of injury issues that year. Benji was out. Hodgson had a bit of injury issues. So Robbie Farah was our goal kicker for a little bit. He had 21 goal attempts in 21. He only kicked 12 of them. So if you think our goal kicking now is frustrating, we had Robbie Farah kicking goals for a little bit there in 2007. And that's the only season he's ever had a shot at goal for the Tigers. So I'm sure Leichhardt Oval, he'll get one, just like Paul Sirenen did when I watched him play his last game there in 99. So my other memory, 2005, I'm sure there was plenty of you there that day. It was 22,877 people at Leichhardt Oval when we played against South. And Robbie Farah got a hat-trick that day. So that's probably my favourite game I've ever been to. The atmosphere, obviously beating South, there's nothing better. We won that 42-20. The hill was absolutely packed, and for Robbie Farah to get a hat-trick on that day, being a Balmain junior, a local boy, a Leichhardt Wanderer junior, was pretty cool. So the 200 plus games I've been to, I don't think I've got a better memory of a game, not including semi-finals. But my last memory is Robbie's only other career hat-trick. Now, this was at Shark Park, round 26, 2011. Now, the main reason I remember this is almost every game that season, I'd backed Robbie Farah to get first try scorer. He pays usually in the $20 mark, sometimes more, and I backed him every single week before this game, and sure enough, that week I didn't, and he scored the first and the last, and one in between. He scored a hat-trick, but we beat the Sharks that day 30-22, secured a top 4 spot before playing the Dragons in the first semi-final the week after. But that was just a very memorable game, not just because of my gambling habits, but seeing Robbie Farah getting a hat-trick is obviously rare. He's only done it twice in 299 games, so that was pretty cool. But they're my 5 memories. I'm looking forward to seeing Robbie play his 301st game next week at Leichhardt Oval, returning to his spiritual home, which will be hopefully on the back of a win against the Knights. So that is our show for this week. Good luck to anyone heading up the M1 or wherever you're travelling from to the game this week. 6 p.m. Friday. Let's hope we can get a win and get our season back on track. That's it for me this week, guys. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WestlifePod and on Facebook. And if you can, give us a rating on iTunes or Spotify. Go the Tigers.